In this practical exam question of AZ-104, that's the Azure Administrator Associate Exam Practical. So we have the following questions, which says your company has an Azure Active Directory subscription. So you want to implement an Azure AD conditional access policy. So the policy must be configured to require members of the global administrator group to use the multi-factor authentication and an Azure AD-joined device when they connect to Azure AD from untrusted location. So according to these questions, it says the solution is you access the multi-factor authentication page to alter the user settings. Well, this is not going to work. Well, if you want to actually configure, create a multi-factor authentication for the administrator, you need to create what we call a conditional access policy. So let's go to our Azure Active. Let's go to Azure. Here in Azure, you can see what you need to do. You can just set, for example, for conditional access. Here you can see we have the Microsoft Entra conditional access. And then in the conditional access, first of all, the question says that the user are trying to actually maybe connect to Azure from an untrusted location. So you will need to actually, for example, we have named location. You need to actually create some locations or some IP ranges location which you deemed untrusted. So here I've already created an untrusted location. So if I go to policies, and now we can decide to create a new policy. So let me just call this Azure admin policy, and then the users that is going to affect is the following. We're going to select some users. For example, we're going to select the global administrator, because the question says, first of all, the policy must be configured to require members of the global administrator group. So we want to actually go to selected users and groups, directory roles. So we want to select the global administrator. And then it says target resources. We want to actually target some selected apps. I'm going to go to the selected apps here. And you can see we have the Microsoft admin portal, which include the admin portal, include the Microsoft 365 admin center, Stage, and the Azure portal. So we're going to actually select that. And that's what the question says, that if the policy must be configured to require members of the global administrator group to use multi-factor authentication and an Azure joined device when they connect to Azure AD from untrusted locations. So if, for example, they are trying to even use the app, it's going to actually require them to configure a multi-factor authentication. And then in network location, we want to actually select yes to that, and then select network location, network and location. Here we're going to select the untrusted location we created in the past, and we're going to select that for the network. And the conditional access is going to be the following. Here we have, like, for example, we have device. We're not going to select. We can say, well, let's go back again to the question. When they connect to Azure from untrusted location, okay, we can actually just leave it. So even if they are using the cloud or they are trying to use it a specific device, it's going to request a multi-factor authentication. We've already selected a location. For the app, we can decide to say, well, even if they are modern authentication client, they are using browsers or any other app, it's going to actually request them to multi-factor authenticate. Filter device, we're not going to filter any device. And then we want to use then the grant access. Now we're going to go to the grant access. And then what is going to happen is this: we're not going to block their access. We're going to request them to use a multi-factor authentication. I want to also mark their device as compliant. And here it says we can also request a Microsoft Entra hybrid joined device. But this is actually stating an Azure AD-joined device. So it's not a hybrid joined device. So I'm going to select that as well. And then we're going to say, let's see the session control. We're not going to use that. So here you can see some remarks which says policies and reports only mode requires compliance. Well, we can decide to just put this on right now and then just click create. So security default must be disabled to enable conditional access policy. So here it says security default must be disabled to enable conditional access policy. So if you are doing this for the first time, definitely you need to disable the security defaults. So if I, for example, if I go to this, open this browser, let me just put it there. So if I go to the Microsoft Entra Admin Center and under my identity, I go to properties. Under properties, you can see it says your organization is protected by security default. So what I need to do is I will need to actually disable it. And well, let's just select for others, or we can just select, since it's planning to use conditional access, of course, and then we can click save. Disabled. So right now it's being actually disabled. So let's just wait. So here we go. You can see it says your organization is currently using a conditional access policy. So if I go back again and then try to create, it's going to take some time for that to get refreshed. So let's just wait. So when I click create, and now you can see that it's being validated and our policy have just been created. So we'll go to the Microsoft conditional policies and we'll go to policies. Here you can see we have the Azure admin policy have just been created. So this is how you actually create the policy. So if you have been asked for this question, the answer is going to be no, because it says solution, you access the multi-factor authentication page. So if you go to the multi-factor authentication page, let's go to the multi-factor authentication page and see multi-factor authentication page. Here you cannot configure, you don't have the option to actually configure the multi-factor for your global admin. So the answer is to this question is definitely no. And please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. And if you have any questions concerning Azure, you can always leave a comment in the comment section. Probably if I could not answer the question, someone else should be able to answer your question. And don't forget to like and also share this video if you think this video can help someone. And please don't forget to help me promote my channel by just hitting the subscribe button.